You are now tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Haiti, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 1, season 18 of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. And in this episode, we are talking about Maryland men's basketball team. Before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. First and foremost, Happy New Year. I wish all of you great success and much. You will do great things in 2024. 2024 will be a good year for us all. I pray for prosperity, peace, and I just pray for good things for all of us as a global community, and hope that we will make this year a better year than 2023, because there's a lot of things that we should and need to leave in 2023 and not bring into the new year. So I wish each and every one of you nothing but success, and may all your dreams come true in 2024. Before we get into it, there's a few things I want to say up front. We tried to record a year review of 2023, and for some unknown reason, we had a lot of audio and video tech issues. So what we're going to do real quick, I'm just going to take a couple minutes. We'll just talk about success of what this channel has done for 2023. First and foremost, this channel has been in existence since about 2010, 2011-ish. I didn't start making videos until right around the pandemic, about at the height of it, about April 2020. I started making little random contents, little things about sort of social topics that I no longer have on the channel. Those videos are now private. Right around the fall, I decided to turn this channel into more of a sports like channel, and Big Nate Sports Podcast. Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast was born. I didn't really know what to make of it. I didn't know where this was going to go, and to see kind of where things are now from where it was at the beginning till now, I can't think no more of. I gotta think the man above. I think my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him, none of this is possible. I feel like the creation of this channel has opened many doors. I would never have thought in my wildest dreams to, because if you remember, I was just really talking about the Washington Mystics, and then now being able to, went past summer, got to cover 5 Washington Mystic games in person. Even still did cover the games on the road. Didn't think that would happen. The ability to having the opportunity to interview Erica McCall, who's now retired, now part of this coaching staff for Stanford University. Shout out to Erica McCall. But more importantly, I think seeing what this path can, just the doors has been, just the many opportunities that I've taken and kind of been given to me. I got to give two people I still give credit to in this regard. If they see this, they know who they are. But we're friends on Twitter. Their names are Aaron and Reba. Maryland Sports Blog at the time, I had followed it. I still followed them. Shout out to Brian. We're looking for new writers, and Aaron and Reba were the first two that said, like, virtually tapped me on the shoulder, said, like this is you, do it. And I really think Maryland Sports Blog. I think Brian Hordasky, who's the site manager, who's the founder, because just for him to give me the opportunity that he did, when there was another website that covered the WNBA media, WNBA, and I get it. There's expectations, and I feel there's always room for improvement. There's room for growth, and I felt like that site manager did not give me enough grace, and more importantly, did not take the time to help kind of show me the ropes, like, no, that this is how you go about it. Growing, saying, okay, let's develop this a little bit more. This could be better. And I'm a little disappointed in that. And I think that was motivation for me to be better. Now, there's still things I'm improving on, but I think Maryland Sports Blog, I think joining the Maryland Sports Blog team, I think was probably the best decision I've made. And again, not really, up until this past year, meeting them and getting to work with them, that opened the door to covering the games for the Mystics. That even opened the door to cover the Maryland women's basketball team. You just saw the interview I did with Bree McDaniel a couple weeks ago before the holidays. Got another one coming up in a little bit. My goal is to get there and cover some games. Specifically, my goal is to get to at least 3 or 4 games for this season. Next year's going to be a bigger goal. But I'm just thankful for the opportunities that I've been given in 2023. And I'm super stoked for what 2024 is going to bring. Again, and I can't thank enough for you guys. This channel, the subscribers have grown. I know it's not been a consistent upload, and I do apologize for that. But I thank each and every one of you for the support, whether you're an avid listener or not. I just thank you guys for the support you're giving me in this channel. I cannot say enough. Got to give a shout out to my guys, Cameron, Marcus, Elliott, those guys. They're also the reasons for me to start this podcast, and I give them much success and much credit. And also, I have to give a shout out to Sean Spencer. Same thing, looked at him like a big brother. And again, none of this is where it's at without them, because it takes a village, and also having the right people to push you to be better and see what you can do, and will help you strive for your goals. And when it's all said and done, you look back and say, without these guys and without putting in the hard work, the time, the dedication, none of this is possible. And my last thing is, follow your passion. Do what makes you happy. My bachelor's degree with I graduate this upcoming summer will be in communication studies. My focus is to be on radio and television. That's what I want to do. It goes back all the way to elementary school. And I see where this can go for me. I already have backup plans if this doesn't work, but never be afraid to follow what makes you happy. If you do those things, I think you have a happy life, and I think you will get more when you do something that makes you happy and something you like to do. So it was a lot like with 2023. There was some good things, there were some bad things. I do think a lot of it is just now seeing it from, that's the most challenging thing, was seeing it from now a journalist perspective versus a fan perspective. And sometimes you have to be objective. Sometimes you have to be, also to be sometimes a hard ass, but sometimes you have to be fair. And see, there's also a lot of things I got to see, like, okay, Now I see an example of WNBA. We had this conversation about who should have been MVP. Personally, in my opinion, it should have been Asia Wilson. But I felt like Alyssa Thomas was used to demeanor Asia's votes for Stewie to win, because there was no way in heck they were going to let Asia Wilson be 3-time MVP over Stewie. And there's still things with how the media is college basketball. We'll get on to all that a little later, but in all, 2023 was a good year. And again, I cannot stress enough, I think, just giving thanks to God. And again, 2024 will be an even better year. And I see some opportunities out there for me. And you just got to go out there and just take them. So thank you. Thank you. With that being said, let's get into it. Maryland's men's basketball. We're 9-5 on the year. Took a painful loss to Purdue, but we played Coppin State, and in that game, Jameer Young did not play. In this game, he was out, and this was, to me, a match, a warm up, and facing a Coppin State team that was just coming into College Park with just one win. Jameer was out due to illness. Jahari Long, he had a big role. Jonathan LeMahieu got some minutes in there. Coach Willard kind of went deep in his rotation. Jahir had 15 points. He had a team high 30 minutes in that game. Deshaun Harris-Smith also was out there as well. With Jonathan, there's still some growth. He only played 15 minutes, but without Jahir's 19 points per game, I think that's something that can't be replaced. But we still got production from 8 different scores. And I especially going into conference play, that was going to be key. Julian Reese, I thought especially he did a good job. He had 18 of Maryland's 40 paint points. I thought he did well. He had 3 blocks. I just thought their interior defense was just didn't do enough against him. And especially he did everything. Same thing like last year, a career game against him, 24 points. And then again, I think a lot of it is going to be, that's what I want to see. Now we're better at home. The winning streak continued up until this game. But outside of for Coppin State, Justin Winston was the only one who showed up. He had 19 points. He was 8-19 on scoring. But I mean, Coppin coming into that after that game was 1-13. They were shot 36% from the field. They turned the ball over 14 times. We had 6 blocks. I can't defend that. And then on top of that too, they were down by 20 going in the half. And by that time, I mean, guys were getting rest. We're getting rest. I mean, the Terps finished with, I think it was a +10 rebound differential, 15 offensive rebounds, 17 second chance points. I mean, again, they really had. This just was a very, to me, at times, a one-sided game. Even Kalen Swanton Roger, who fouled out in 3 minutes against UCLA, had a career high 9 points. And again, I give him time to develop. He'll be fine. I do think he's a little. I think it's how he's being used, but I think as time progresses, and I think through practices and development, I think Kalen will be just fine. And then painfully, it happened. We lost to Purdue, and this was embarrassing. The number 1 Purdue, our home winning streak was snapped. After 19 games, we lost 67-53. I thought coming in the game that it was key. You have to take out. Take out's not, as that's kind of a strong word. You have to take away Zach Edley, and we didn't do that. Just so you guys know, for me, I'm going to continue to say the same thing. A lot of it is going to be patience, because outside of Jameer Young, maybe Juju, I can't find anybody else. Now, let me just give you some background. Okay, coming into this game, Purdue was 12-1. Okay, last year they went 29-6, and they finished 15-5 in the Big Ten. Okay, Zach Edley is probably the best center in college basketball. One could make the argument that he could go for his second straight National Player of the Year. I mean, he averaged 22 and 13 last year. I mean, you look at his numbers so far into the season, they're pretty much identical. He's had 8 games where he scored 20 or 20 more points. In those 8 games, he scored 35, I want to say. And then they're off. They are a great 3-point shooting team. I think I thought coming into this season, I thought that we all kind of was suspected what their 3-point shooting would look like, but their 3-point defense has also been key. I mean, they're making almost 40% of their threes, and 5 players are shooting over 39%. I think it's coming in again. It was Mason Gills. I want to say it's a mixture of some sophomores and juniors. I think it was a couple of seniors, but it's 5 of their players. And to me, when you look at their offense, looking at the tape, their offense is not shooting threes. I mean, it's amazing how their 3 ball carries them in most wins. And kind of looking at it, like, Purdue's they're not a consistent team, especially when they're on the road. Last year, I believe they won 7 of their 10 conference games on the road. And 4 of those games, I remember correctly, this was by a possession. And remember, they lost to Indiana, Maryland, and Northwestern, if I remember correctly. And this year, the only road loss so far was Northwestern. I was hoping that would have happened. And coming up until now, Maryland hadn't even faced a quad 1 opponent, and Purdue faced 5. And of those 5, Purdue won. Anywho, my key coming into this game, outside of Jameer and Juju, I need others. And I mean, those 2 alone, they contribute 75% of our offense. And not say that's not sustainable, but they can't do it alone. And it proved, it showed. I mean, we had no answers for Zach Edley. I mean, he got to wherever he wanted to. He got going early. He finished the game with a double-double, 23 points, 12 of them, and 12 of them came in the first half. He was 8 of 13. I mean, he's a tough kid to guard. I mean, especially when you've got that type of a skill set at his size. I mean, even when he's not scoring, they used him to create 3-point shots for others. And it just became like this. Our perimeter defense, we just couldn't make the adjustments. Even I feel like even we just couldn't make the adjustments. We even at one point doubled him. And they easily, if the ball, let's say, for example, the ball is going to Zach, we're doubling him. The ball is going back out to the open shooter. And again, like, that's what they did. I mean, the goal is for them to make you double, where you've got 4 other guys outside of Zach that can shoot the ball. I mean, they shot 45% from 3 against us. I mean, they were up 32-19 by halftime. I mean, we didn't even score our first points until literally about 3 or 4 minutes into the game. But that was what Jordan, Geronimo had not 2 free throws down, if I remember correctly. I mean, the offense and this offense just they looked. I'm going to keep it real. They looked lackadaisical. They looked all out of sorts. I mean, and they couldn't even score without getting to the free throw line, even with Juju and Jameer on the bench. I mean, Harris Smith and Deshaun Harris Smith and Dante Scott. I mean, even when they were out there, they I mean they weren't much better. And I mean, Jameer was the only one, maybe Juju, that actually responded to Purdue. I mean, he scored 26 points. He was 12 of 23 from the field. I mean, and I can't. And then when you look at the numbers for Dante and Deshaun, you're not going to win too many games where you had a combined 10 points and you shot under 25% from the field.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
So I mean that was pretty hard, and then it didn't make it didn't help that Juju was held scoreless. I mean, you're asked to defend a 7'4" guy and scoring on him, and I mean, yeah, I think, but the only thing I would disagree with Coach Willard said in the post game. He said something along the lines of Juju being the number one guy in the scouting report. He's got to be a little bit more aggressive in the last couple games. First and foremost, we have to get him easy shots. I don't care if it's off the pick and roll, we have to get him going a little earlier. Like the ball movement, off ball movement, and I think the offense, I think we need to look at making some changes. I disagree with that. I think he has shown what he can be, but if you don't get him going, like you're expecting, he guarded a guy who's 7'4". I mean, you could take him out the paint. Zach, I mean, I would have tried to make him. What I would have done, this is just me. If I would post Zach up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get him in foul trouble as best I can, but also too I'm going to try to get guys. Got off ball movement's key, and I would have liked to have seen that. At times I didn't see that. I mean, I felt like they kind of started to settle down, and they found a kind of rim in the halftime. They had those two quick layups, but Purdue's the Boilermakers, their offense never slowed down. I mean, they started 4 for 4 from the field, and 3 of them were 3-pointers, which they took a 20-point lead. And again, I think this was a growth. I think this was a growing experience for everybody. I mean, 9 of 40 outside of Jameer. That was disappointing to look at, and I really just feel like I'm not going to put all the blame on. I just think back to Juju. Yeah, he is number one guy in the scouting report, but again, like that's the first time he's gone without a point being scored at least 15 minutes. The problem was for me when I look back at the tape, the problem wasn't efficiency or getting the free throw line or shooting. It was that I felt as though he wasn't aggressive enough. He didn't possess the ball enough to take, and he kind of was forced to okay, well, the ball can't be out of his hands. I mean, he only took 4 shots, and one of them was in the second half. And they weren't good, and they weren't good looks. They were just kind of forcing him. They were 4 shots. And that's something you got to do a better job at getting him easy buckets. Like I'm watching, I'm like, well, why did you not? You could have had a screen. You could have had him on the pick and roll. You could have had something. But I mean, I think he will turn it around. I'm not panicking, but I mean, Purdue, they have a bunch of forwards that are good, and Zach's ability to disrupt opponents near the hoop. I'm not going to sit there and say oh my gosh, like Juju, that was horrible. No, there were also there. I've seen that the man can turn it around. He has shown that he can dominate frequency, and every player goes through cool stretches. Every player is entitled to have a bad game, and he is the second most productive player on this roster. And outside of that, outside of him, everybody else was pretty damn. I mean, everyone else was pretty much damn near disappointing. We gotta do a better job to get Dante better shots, Deshaun going, and even our bench. So I disagree with that assessment more, if anything. I just think that he'll be fine. Their offense is something. And I talked about this in the last video. Something about Kevin Willard's defenses, and it goes back to Seton Hall. Just it's something I don't get it what it is, and I just felt like seeing it against this a number one ranked school. They just looked lost in the sauce. I mean, they couldn't generate any open looks. They just couldn't knock down shots. Nobody was cutting to the basket, no ball movement. I mean, 19 points in the first half, and it just in the second half wasn't that much better. I mean, when you're not making shots, especially against a team like this, it's going to be a long game, and it showed. And again, like I don't know what it is. I just feel like I still think Maryland can surprise some and make the tournament, but right now what I'm seeing is we don't have the pieces around Jameer to compete, especially against top teams in the Big Ten. And I'm really, really concerned. I mean, I agree. I mean, when he said in the postgame, those 26 points didn't mean anything. I agree. I mean, I'm not going to celebrate that. I wouldn't celebrate it either. We lost. I mean, it didn't help. And then it doesn't help when you got Minnesota, Michigan, and then Illinois, ranked number 9. So these next 3 games, I think, are get right games for the fellas. But again, I believe they'll turn it around. I just think this team is still finding its identity, and it really, I'm shook. I'm not gonna lie. I knew we weren't going to really go in there, and I hoped for max effort. I felt like they did try their best, but at times they looked shell shocked, and I think they'll get it together. And this was painful. This hurt for sure. But again, it's still plenty of basketball. It's early in the season. I'm not panicking, but I am disappointed. I think that's a better word to use than other types. I'm just more disappointed. So let's also really quick talk about Maryland basketball. They landed a 4-star recruit, Malachi Palmer. I feel like he's the first commitment in the 2024 class for Maryland. He's from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He picked us over Florida State, Oklahoma State, Seton Hall, and West Virginia. He currently attends Mount Zion Prep. He transferred from Central Dauphin. He's participated in Nike, EYBL, Team Mellow, and Renaissance. I feel like he will be Jameer's replacement. And I don't expect him right away to be starting. But there are some guards that do have the option coming back next year. So all but from last year, one signed. He had a couple. One signed late by August. But hey, I think we got a shooter. I mean, he's more of a passer, and from what I've seen, he tends to be a little bit more ball dominant. And he settles for tough shots, like he's like a shot creator. Got to get him. He needs to be a little bit better shooting the 3. From what I've seen and read, in the scouting report. I definitely think he has the size and physicality that I think Coach Willard would like. He can guard multiple positions on the defensive end. So I like that. I'm not mad at that at all. So I'm curious to see what else we will do in the recruiting class for 2024. But for right now, so far, he's the only one. So congratulations to Malachi. Welcome to College Park. There is another guy, if I remember correctly. I think his name's Derek Queen. I believe he's, oh my gosh, I can't get into the school. I forgot where he's from. He's picked. I can't think of the other schools at the top of my head, but I know Maryland's one of them. I want to say it's Kansas, Indiana. I'm trying to think of who the other school was. It's a Texas school. Houston, University of Houston. That's the one he's looking at. He's a power forward from Florida. So we'll see how that looks. But so far, he's our only one of the other guy that we're looking at to be a Maryland Terrapin for next year. So let's get into the final thought of Big Nate Sports Talk.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
The one final thought is the Maryland Terrapins we will be fine. We will regroup. I'm not panicking. I don't think we should be pressing the panic button on this team. I still think this team will make the NCAA tournament. Just give them time, be patient, and I think it'll all work itself out. I think, again, losing some players last year, whether it's graduation, transfer portal, or even graduation, this team is still trying to find its identity. And it's going to start with Coach Willard, but more importantly, I trust what he's doing. And again, hey, look, it was a tough loss, but sometimes you need losses like this to wake you up and get you back on track. And like I said, these next 3 games are going to be good for us. Now we're getting the conference play. This is where, your famous way. This is where your money's made. So, hey, let's see how these guys respond. So that's going to conclude this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Thank you for tuning in this episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please tune in for all future episodes of the podcast. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Y'all have a good night. Peace. Stay up.
Your next stop is your success. And clear negative odds, please.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.